to Smut. I am your hostess, Emily Iris, and of course we have our series guest here, Kellyanne, the Compassion Creatrix. Compassion is on the brain today. We love it already.
Yeah, it's already been coming up, so here we go.
Whee! Cool. So we're going to start with our Moonifesting corner, as we do, before we get into the Decans as archetypes, using the Caroline Myss
Myss.
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 Thank
Yep.
you. Using her archetype oracle deck and system, which is really fun and cool. And Kellyanne will tell you more about that when we get into the juice of all of this. But we'll start with our Moonifesting. So, what we have coming up that you should be aware of is that we all just survived an eclipse. Woo! But coming up next, we have our first quarter moon in Capricorn. So, this is like the first big bus stop from the eclipse. And it's a little bit of a self-worth checkpoint. That's what I'm getting for this. Like, what parts of ourselves are we treating like trash? Where are we telling ourselves that you trash? And the tarot translation is really funny. It's the Two of Coins, so the Two of Pentacles. And honestly, to me, like, this is my projection, of course. I'm like, he's dancing for his coin. So where have I been treating myself like trash? Like hustling, performing for the bag, you know, instead of really having artistic integrity, doing only what I want to do. That's what comes up for me when I look at that. But I'd love to hear your official tarot translation, Kellyanne, with your mood tarot. And I want to know what that little guy has to say.
Yeah, Mood Tarot is real fun. This is, I think, maybe the first card that I saw where I was like, oh, I get what this deck is about. And they gave him googly eyes, which is zoomed in right now if you are watching instead of listening. You can see that he's got the googlies, the crazy googly mooglies. And then he's also saying, this is so boring. I should go be a pirate, which really reinforces what Emily was saying, which is like, okay, have you figured out if you're in between the thing that you're doing for money and the thing that you want to be doing that sets your soul aflame, where do you need to reflect a little bit more? Because what you're doing just for the coin might be making you a little bit crazy. And not the good kind of crazy. The bad kind of crazy, where you lose your sense of self. And this is mirrored, pun intended, by the reflection card in Voyager Tarot. There's just a cold blue icy quality to this card, and it always reminds me of like looking in a mirror and having that reflection of like, you could impose nothing upon it. I'm just looking at a human body if I'm looking at myself through a mirror, and there's nothing to see here. Or you could realize that a mirror is sort of like the gateway between portals. Like, you are standing on one side where you're at, and as you look into your own reflection, you can see your own potential. You can see your own like version of you who wants to do the thing. Like, you can play sort of like with those makeup dolls and paper dolls where you would just put their outfits on them. Like, you can see yourself in the places doing the things that you actually want to be doing. But the number two needs us to go within ourselves in order to do it. It can't just be like a continuing to hustle without slowing down kind of thing. Like, we have to, with the Capricorn energy, for us to be able to live between worlds, we have to sit in the in-between, and we have to give our attention and that silent reflectiveness to where we're at when we are in that in-between.
Oh, yeah. like it's an invitation to connect with your future vision and still keep going because we're only on 2.
Yeah, 2 for me is the part of the journey. Like if you are planning on climbing a mountain, you know, ace is the time where you are still on flat ground. You are looking up toward that peak and you're like, okay, is this journey worth it for me? And the 2 is I always use the mnemonic within you is what 2 is about. It's like as soon as you anchor in like yes, this is the mountain that I'm climbing, that's when you are in that 2 energy. So
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
trying to feel settled and feel like you have direction, then harnessing the power of 2 is going to get you there.
That's so beautiful. There's a part of that too, as well, in the traditional arcana, where you can see that behind this dancing infinity pentacle holding goober is a really wavy ocean with a bunch of ships going up and down. And this is reminding me too, like we're about to go on the journey and like this is what's ahead. It's not going to be easy, but like we can tune in to that intuitive part of us that's like, this is what I'm doing. This is my fuck yes. I know that this is for me and it doesn't matter what's ahead. Like I'm going to surmount it. I'm going to keep going through it. It don't matter. It's like big Dochi energy, big Pharrell energy, just like, I'm gonna get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go for it. And I don't have any illusions or delusions about what it's gonna be like. This is so boring. I should go be a pirate as this guy is, on land, but wishing that he were on those big arcing waves out on that ship. You know the risk that you are taking in spite of the excitement that you feel toward that endeavor that sometimes gives us rose tinted glasses. I think the 2 is, like you said, that dochi energy where it's like, I know the risks and the rewards, and I'm in it for like the biggest play, the biggest play that I could make. I'm going
Yeah.
to make that big play because it's worth the risk, but I know the risks going in.
Yes. Yeah. I'm like specifically thinking about Nosebleeds, her song where she's like, I knew it. I'm here. I wonder, what is she going to do if she didn't win? I guess we'll never know.
I guess we'll never know.
So beautiful. Bring that energy to whatever sets your heart on fire. That is your assignment for the first quarter in Capricorn. That sounds fun. Never thought Capricorn could sound so fun.
Honestly, yeah, Capricorn really slaps me on the behind sometimes, but for sure, this is a lovely place to be where you're giving your energy to that in between in the most uplifting way.
So sweet. Cool. So that transit, that first quarter moon in Capricorn 1 happens on September 29th. So get your life that day, have fun, connect with y'all vision. All right, shall we get into the delicious juice of our container today?
Let's do it. Let's hear about
Okay.
them deacons
Yes. We're going
so
to
we
talk.
can get into these archetypes.
Yes. Okay. So, you've heard me going on and on about decans, everyone, and maybe you've the whole time been like, what is she talking about? What is a decan? So, I'm going to break it down for you real quick. And just a reminder that this podcast is for our arty brained people, for our creative brains. So, guess what? I'm going to skip the math section. And I'm just going to tell you what a decan is, okay? So we have 12 zodiac signs. Yes, most of us agree. Some people want to talk about the 13th, but here's why we don't need it. Because out of those 12 zodiac archetypes, we can divide each sign into 3 sub signs. So 3 different Aries, 3 different Taurus. And those each are 9 degrees, and that's all the math I'm going to make you learn today. And you'll see, so as the signs progress, like they melt into each other a little bit on the edges. And Taurus carries some Gemini characteristics at the end, and Gemini shares some Taurus characteristics at the end. And you'll see those middle decans are like, boom, coming through with the full thickness and strength of what we assign to a Leo, right? We're like, oh yeah, that's thickness.
Thickness.
Yeah, that's a Leo. Of course, we all agree on that. So that's what you're going to see as we start to progress through these decans. And I really vibe with the system because it lets us key in even more intricately and specifically to the flavors in our natal chart. And I really do dream of the day when we walk up to each other and we're like, hey, I'm a Pisces 3 sun, Leo 1 moon with a Virgo 3 rising. And people know exactly what you mean by that. Could be so fun.
That would be wild. I think it would require a decent amount of studying, but I don't think we do enough studying about ourselves in the first place, or maybe not we as it you and I, but we as a culture of people who are avoiding ourselves.
It was generous to include us in that, wasn't it? Yeah, right. We as an overculture. Exactly. So if you want to like really see the reflection of your sign, decans. And what we've done here is we've gone through and I've created like just a name, a tagline for each decan that we're going to look at. And then Kellyanne has gone through and assigned the Caroline Myss archetypes, which I would love for you to introduce.
And I would love to be able to show you the cards, and I'm looking over at where my cards usually are, and I've just packed them up yesterday. So the only cards that I have are my 2 tarot decks because that's what we use for recording. And I'm like, well, that's all I'll need for a little while. But truly having them locked up in a box, I feel so bad for them. They're like my children. I'm just suffocating them right now. But the Caroline Myss archetypes are based on some very rudimentary core Jungian archetypes that were expanded into, I think, either 80 or 81 archetypal roles that people can play in different areas of their lives. So normally when you find out about your archetypes, it's a little bit like the Myers-Briggs, where you're finding out sort of like a personality niche, but it's a little less cornering and a little bit more expansive because when you work with the archetypes, you're normally working with the 12 houses, which are the same as in astrology. You have different areas of your life, and those 12 houses help you to understand, once you've selected an archetype that matches for that area of your life, which could be your home, how you are in your home, how you are in your career, how you are in your relationship to the world, how you are in your subconscious. All of those things give you a sort of mapping of the roles that you play. And for archetypes, it really helps us to kind of see characters in the media and in books that we read and TV and in our friendships, in our relationships, we get to see these personality traits that are aligned with certain roles as in the archetypes. So some basic ones that you might have heard of if you've watched Game of Thrones are mother, father, stranger, warrior. I'm trying to remember another one, but um, you've got just these like very core ones, and fortunately we have so many to choose from now that we've gone through. And like Emily said, I've picked out based on Emily's interpretations of these signs in with their decans. I've picked out archetypes that match with those. And I think this is very helpful because, like Emily also said, we're not all math people. So doing the decan math is a little bit mind boggling if you encounter it for the first time and you're like, I'm an astrology girly. Like, why didn't I know about this? Or like, why hasn't this come up more? But your professional astrologer will have already known what your decans are, because that's how you find out not just the specific, like if you're a Virgo, these are some of the traits that you have, but like even more specific than that. I mean, we're getting to the very, like the bottom underneath the surface of the iceberg there.
Yeah.
So yeah, as we go through, we're going to be matching those up so that you can have a little bit of a shorthand when you learn your own decans, and you can say, oh, that's, I'm a warrior in this area of my life, but I'm a prince in this area of my life, and a gossip in this other area of my life. And I love myself for all of those.
Exactly. All of the archetypes are necessary. And I want to say that too before we get in real deep. Like, you're going to hear some archetypes that you might be like, oh, that's a bad or evil archetype, or that's a good archetype. And I just want you to suspend your dualistic thinking right now, which, again, if we're talking to all the other creative brained people, you're already with us. But just remember, like, there is a shadow and light to all archetypes. They can be high vibe and low vibe and using their powers for evil or for good, or hey, neutral. So just, back up a little from the black and white thinking as we go in.
And we're going to be trying to do that too, because I
Yeah.
know that, as we go through, we might, I've noticed that my brain focuses more on the negative than the positive. So as we go through, I might not necessarily, when we see the angel come up, say, okay, now this might not necessarily be a good thing. But when the vampire comes up, I'm probably going to say, and this might not necessarily be a bad thing.
Yes.
So also just, we're going to try to suspend our dualistic thinking. But if we don't, hey, catch us in the comments and let us know. I think you were a little bit harsh on this one and you didn't need to be. Or I think I know some people who have angelic qualities, but in a shadow side. And you tell us about that, because I want to hear what your brains come up with as you listen to these. I really encourage you to just connect your own mental dots with the archetypes that we're thinking of, with people in literature and in the media, or people that you know personally, because it also helps you to create those connective tissues so you can use those as muscles next time. You can start to build the muscle memory of like, oh, I know what that looks like. I know what that feels like to connect with somebody who resonates with that archetype.
Yeah. So fun to flip the negativity bias on its ass like that. I'm in. I'm in for the ride on that one. Frickin' evolution
Let's freaking
lizard
go.
brain. Ah. And I have one more thing I want to say about the Decans, and that is that it's a progression. Okay? Like, a soul comes in fresh into Aries and goes through 3 levels of fire lessons, and then they move into Earth. and they go through 3 levels of earth lessons. Then they go into air and move through 3 levels, and then water, move through 3 levels, graduate to the next. Like, this is kind of the energy that we're going to get. So as we go through the first the first set of 4 decans that we talk about, like, these are rudimentary lessons. We're talking aces, 2s, 3s, and 4s. And then when we talk about the next set, it's like, okay, it's getting a little deeper, maybe a little more complex. Maybe there's more crossover. It's just...
So what you're saying, it sounds like what you're saying is the each set of 4, as we go through the 4 elements in the signs and complete an elemental cycle, we'll be able to see sort of stages of life. Yes. So like Aries through Cancer is going to be that first stage of life. Leo through what comes after Libra? Scorpio is that second stage of life, and so on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And if you have a lot of Decan 3 mutable energy in your chart, you're going to be like, oh, like, that is why it does seem really complicated to embody some of this astrology, because it's all like hella ascended and complex, truly. But we're going to start where it's simple, in Aries. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
Woo! Okay. Aries Decan 1 is such fun energy. It's like the Fool, a hot, fresh, and ready soul who just like popped out of source and is like, I'm here. Let's go. I'm ready to rock. It's Rockin' Bobby.
It's Rockin' Bobby.
I forgot about Rockin' Bobby, a character that just was born inside of Kellyanne.
It's one of my archetypes. We were both at a murder mystery party, and I got assigned a character, and I was immediately in the zone. And then it persisted. I don't know. Rockin' Bobby just persisted over the years. That's funny as hell. I haven't thought about Rockin' Bobby.
I know, that just poured through. It's this energy. I'm ready to go. Let's go to the front of the stage. I want to headbang right next to the lead.
What could possibly go wrong by launching this motorcycle off of this ramp and off into all these other trucks? What could possibly go wrong? I'm too new to know.
That's fun.
Not my problem.
Oh, so Evil Knievel is the...
Evil Knievel! Yeah. When you said Rockin' Bobby, I thought of Evil Knievel. Like, I think that's where my brain already was. And if you don't know who Evil Knievel is, they're a person famous for doing motorcycle stunts.
Yes,
so
exactly.
Yeah, we just got the perfect person in the media. And the archetype, as I wipe away my tears, the archetype that I picked for this one is the Eternal Child. The Eternal Child is a Peter Pan adjacent energy. They've just got this like, I'm gonna live forever kind of messy brained quality to it, where it's just like you can literally sense when you're around this person or when they're in like their passion, you can feel that kind of like soul fire emanating from them, where it's like I'm standing next to like a hot oven of childishness and there's absolutely no presence of like time passing for these people. It's just like I'm gonna live forever and time is meaningless.
Yes, I imagine inside their head it's going just
Yeah.
Forever two-stepping.
Perfect.
Yeah, that's so eternal child is perfect. That is the energy of Aries one that they're bringing to the world. And you can see just how magical that is to be that lit up. And you can also see maybe that they could be like prone to accidents and destruction. But like, it's generally I wouldn't say that Aries one like came to destroy the world. Like they just might break an arm.
Yeah, I think the beautiful thing about the eternal child is while some may find it frustrating for there to be people who in their minds are young forever, and there is that quality of like responsibilitylessness. There can also for eternal child the eternal child be the point of inspiration that they emanate to others, which is, hey, while you're young, imagine the possibilities, go deeply into your imagination, and hey, bring that with you forever. Then bring that energy of where your imagination takes you and the excitement and the enthusiasm that your imagination leverages in your life. Take that with you for the rest of your life. I think that's their like wonderful light quality that they share with others and that they teach others by being themselves.
Yes. Total fuck yeah energy for Aries one. Thank you for existing. We love you. All right, let's look at two. Okay, so Aries has had a cycle to figure some things out, and now they realize that they can learn mastery. They can learn mastery of anything. And maybe they've decided what that is, and they are stepping into leadership. So I call this one the authenticity commander because they are still carrying that childlike flaming heart first and foremost as their torch, but now they're leading. It's like all of a sudden they looked behind them and there were people there. And they're really leading from that like sweetness, that sweet childish, why would I do anything but the thing I really care about energy. Yummy.
Mm. I picked the athlete for that reason. There's sort of like with the eternal child, you feel that like soul first, soul burst energy.
Mm-hmm.
And then with Deacon 2 for Aries, the athlete, the eternal child comes into their bodies, comes into their soul just so powerfully. And then with Deacon 2, come into their bodies powerfully. Like you're learning what a soul is as an eternal child, and you're just like, the soul is eternal. So of course that's me. I'm gonna take that eternality with me. But the athlete is like learning that the body decays and starts to go, I'm going to use it to the best that I possibly can. And I am going to start to elevate and uplift and, get so into my physical body that that thing becomes powerful and that thing feels limitless. I feel like Aries has a limitlessness uh, sort of convention that they get to go to when they live in that space. And it's like all of the things that they're learning about is how to lead from a place of like really powerfully putting yourself and your all into something. And I think that's what athletes do.
Yeah. Oh my God. I love this choice. And actually, I just came across one of the very few astrological scientific research studies that has ever been done. And it was called the Mars effect, what they discovered. This guy, Michel Gauquelin. And what they discovered is that people with prominent fire Mars tend to be athletes. That most of the athletes, competitive like Olympians that they were looking at, have a fire Mars. And I so see that like Aries middle decan is like fire on fire. I figured it out. I understand that there is limitation here on earth. So I'm going to use all the tools I have to like go as hard as possible.
Yeah, and to become, the my own personal best, which I
Yeah.
think is what an authenticity commander cares about. The dark side of being an athlete is sometimes the athleticism gets the better of you, and your competition becomes something that you're driven by. But when you are driven by your own personal best, then that is way more authentic and way more grounded. As a fire sign, it's a little more grounded to be competing against yourself than everybody else.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you're in the beginning part of an Aries journey, right? We're just learning self-mastery. That's it. What can I do with this bod? So much.
Right. What does body do?
Exactly. All right, Aries Decan 3. So I'm calling this one the Dragon Tamer. And this is where we have some goddess energy enter the chat. So it has been real masculine for the first two decans. And in this third part of Aries, we're starting to like rub up against Taurus. So we are getting the Venus influence. And I see like Dragon Tamer. I had Brat Tamer before, but this feels truer. Like it's giving the strength card for me, where you see like a woman that's just like so regal and embodied and in her strength and power, that the lion has his mouth open and her hand is in its mouth and it's not hurting her. They just like have an agreement. I take care of you, you take care of me. And it's this sovereignty that comes through when you really balance the masculine and feminine in Aries, that could bring, dictators to their knees. It's like, really, really powerful goddess stuff. Almost dominatrix, if you will.
Hmm. Well, yeah, dragon tamer, brat tamer, for sure. Dominatrix energy, it's giving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Aries is very much a me focused and self focused sign. So there's also this sense that, the third decan isn't learning about the soul or the body anymore, and maybe isn't even learning about like the social, but is learning about that higher self from a place of attempting self mastery for the first time. And when you play with fire, you might get burned. And I love that you changed it to Dragon Tamer, because as we were going through Brat Tamer, I was like, that makes sense. And I feel like Brat is more expansive, but Dragon really, yeah,
Yes.
that's doing the trick for me.
Yeah.
The archetypes that I assigned to the third decan for Aries is the liberator and also the bully. So we have this sense of really working with big, powerful energies, because when we think of a liberator, we think of somebody who is freeing others from tyranny. And dragons can be incredibly tyrannical, and sometimes you are the dragon, and sometimes there are places and scenarios in your life that become the dragons that you must, encounter in order to tame. And I think that can uh, lead to a liberator's role, where you are learning how to break free from the things that you thought you needed in order to survive, because the ultimate goal here is to sort of powerfully embody that higher self. But that can also lead to intimidation. I mean, if you think of a dragon tamer, if you lived in a fantasy world where dragons really existed and you met a dragon tamer, they'd probably be intimidating as fuck.
Yeah.
And you would probably be like, you would recognize that in their personality they have certain bullying qualities, because what bullies do is help you to reassess your own self-worth and your own value. So the liberator and the bully, I think, work together within this decan to help impress upon us that like the power that you find isn't necessarily from playing small or being nice. You know, you ain't gonna tame the dragon that
Yeah,
way.
exactly. It really reminds me of Kasha Urbaniak, and I wonder now if she has this placement in her chart. But like a good witch, her astrology is not publicly posted anywhere. So respect, woman.
Respect.
Respect. Because she is that powerful. She's the kind of teacher that when you're in a space with her, you can just feel there's like a lot of chi running through. There's a lot of life force energy that's really grounded and powerful. She can hold a really strong container. That is the Aries Decan 3. It's really starting to ground the fire, which makes perfect sense because we're moving to Taurus next.
Sick. Let's
Sick.
go.
Let's go. Okay, that's you, Aries. Taurus. All right, sweeties. Decan 1. Okay. This one is all about you learning your influence in the material world and becoming a fucking screen idol. So it's like golden age Hollywood actress, actor energy. Marilyn Monroe became famous for her midheaven in Taurus. Like incredibly feminine energy. You might also see this energy in someone like Cary Grant, who is like a Hollywood heartthrob. But there's something like classic and charismatic that draws people in, and they're a screen idol, which means that what Taurus one presents to the world is not always what's inside. So there's a bit of like a smoke screen happening too, which can be healthy, right? Because we need privacy as public figures as well. So that Taurus Decan 1, it's like there's more than what meets the eye, even though there's a lot that meets the eye.
Yeah, I've got the networker archetype for this decan. Uh, the networker is much the same, puts themselves out there and isn't afraid to be connected to a lot of people at once
Mm-hmm.
and seeks out connections in relationships because they feel that web tugging them and because they feel like there is some sort of, I mean, I'm thinking in D&D terms, in Dungeons and Dragons terms, of having really high charisma stats
Yes.
and being the one who is learning what charm is for and how to use it. I think, like, as Aries was like very physical and very power oriented. I think Taurus is that like connective charm, like uh, sort of finessing and uh, creating connections with people. And there are all different kinds of ways that that can take place. But the networker is primarily concerned with being sort of at the center of those connections and being the one to be able to say, I brought these people together. I made that happen. Because those connections give them that boost to their confidence and that boost to their own inner understanding of self.
Yeah. You know who I'm getting for this now? Tom Haverford from Parks and Recreation, which is so funny.
Yes.
So Aziz
Tom Haverford.
Ansari, yeah, Aziz's character in Parks and Rec, like, is Taurus Deacon 1 turned up, and you can like feel in his character the Aries traits that have carried over a little that are like kind of childish and redonkulous, but like really inherently sweet and just like loves to be on the stage.
That makes a lot of sense for him, and it's so funny that the second decan for Taurus is Donna Meagle. Like they're both right there next to each other doing fucking treat yourself.
Besties.
If any sign was a treat yourself sign, it's Taurus. That's
Yes.
so funny. I have chills. That's crazy.
Cackles, cackles, cackles. Yeah, this is so
Oh my gosh.
helpful. I love having a actual pop reference for this. Yeah, type it in, put it in. And
Just put
Tom.
Donna Meagle in.
Okay, so I know now you're probably, yes, I want to know about this. Who is the second decan? The second decan of Taurus, I am calling the abundant seductress. Okay. And yes, Donna Meagle. Donna Meagle with the bends and the fits and always looking fly and the treat yourself. Yes.
And the 12 different boyfriends that she's got on rotation.
Yeah. It's
Darling.
right. I'm thinking also like Elizabeth Taylor, like a no like unapologetic abundant seductress. Like I want a big ring and I want comfort and I deserve comfort and I'm here in this material world to experience material comforts and all of my yums. And also dark side, hello, they may never be satiated.
Might, yeah, feel like they're starving when they're just a little hungry because this is the thing that they're focused on. Yeah.
Right.
Material comfort, material wealth, health, prosperity. I've got, from the archetypes, I've got the femme fatale and the Don Juan. And if you
Okay.
don't know about Don Juan DeMarco, ultimate seducer of women and probably people in general. I feel like
Mhm.
Don Juan was like, what is it, pansexual? Was just like anybody who gives me the vibe, like I'm going for it. But the femme fatale was, yeah, the sort of old classic Hollywood, um, like lady killer, but in reverse. Like, was the lady who would kill with her looks, and um, yeah, we've got between the femme fatale and the Don Juan, they're people who master seduction. And here's another play on charm and charisma. They master seduction so that they can achieve the means for their abundance that feels so satiating to them,
Yeah.
which, like you said, can go wrong and can also be used to benefit many if it's in a specific if you've got uh, like a Taurus Decan 2 placement in your Venus, you might be the kind of person who not only is a seductress, but also like builds relationships based on like what would seduce you. I want to know what that thing is so that I can match that for you and share this abundance with you.
Yes. And okay, having read Robert Greene's The Art of Seduction, which is a horrifying read, okay? Manipulation 101, but also good to know. Um, Seduction is actually reflection. So as you just said that, I was like, boom, Kellyanne gets it because what seduces you is my interest in you. It's the questions I ask you. It's really just like uh, aiming your energy out. So there is feminine, masculine balance here in the middle decan of Taurus that's like feminine energy, magnetizing. And then when the seduction energy comes online, it's penetrating energy. And Taurus does both. And they can do it for like political change. They have really so much charisma. They can use this to do so much good. Or, they could do it just to like have a lot of lovers, which is also fine. Like, it's still a young soul here in Taurus.
Still nourishing, still satiating, and everybody gets what they need at the time that they need it. Yeah, and this also like gives me Kaja Urbanic vibes, which is why I think it's so great that like you were like, ooh, this is where she lives with that dragon tamer, because it has that Taurus crossover into uh, the dominant states of attention, where your attention is out, and charisma is based not just on you uh, being effervescent, which is a way that I see myself in my charm, is an effervescence of like, I'm just bubbly and I can't help myself. And that's what draws people to me. But is an attention outward, where it's not so much about you and who you are and what you're bringing to the table. It's about your curiosity and your desire to get other people to feel rich in their desires.
Yeah.
Mm.
Taurus too. Taurus too be asking good questions. Okay. Taurus 3. Now we're on Taurus level 3. So they're now using their powers to unite people in the garden. I'm calling them the uniting gardener. They're like, oh, I have chills on this one. Interesting. So they're bringing together everyone and inviting them for tea in the garden, inviting them to lay down and listen to someone play the pan flute and hang out with the nymphs and sprites and centaurs. Like, they're really living a beautiful and magical, abundant life that they want to invite people into. So it starts to feel for me a little bit less self-focused, even though we are still in the self-focused signs. There's like a big community feeling to Taurus Decan 3.
There is a little bit of outward attention that is driven by your own connection. And here's like, a little bit of that like sort of networker vibe that we had before. Connection with the material in a different way, in like a very alive way. And I think, the further that you get through the decans, I think just in the same way that the first 4 signs of in astrology are like the beginning of life, and the last 4 represent the end of life. It's the same with the decans. As you get into the third, it's like when you develop that sort of mastery of connection and seduction, desire, charm, charisma, you become the archetype, the goddess, who is connecting with everybody and is magnanimous and beautiful and cares about making the world a beautiful place to exist in. Like, beauty is one of the higher values. Okay, Taurus is connected with Venus and Aphrodite. So you've got beauty as one of the higher values, but you also have this almost nature child like connection where you are more attentive to the natural states of things. And that doesn't just play with like actual plants and soil and, but also plays with like the true nature of people, which is like the final level of charisma, being able to be insightful about other people's needs and a plant's needs and the environment around you, the space that you're in, the groups that you're with, being able to be insightful about their needs and their desires. And then being a goddess about it, either really wrathful and petty with your insights, or being really magnanimous and using charm to help people get to a place where they can match their own needs and desires.
Yeah. Yeah, the Taurus 3 has like a softness to them that I don't see in the first two decans. Like as we come up on Gemini, it's like some of that fixed energy of Taurus starts to loosen up a little. And like these are the people that can probably communicate telepathically with your cat and uh, tell you what that yellow leaf on your plant means because they're listening. They really are. It's super sweet.
It's funny. I have maybe different associations with Gemini. So like and Taurus, because when you said the hard ground softening up, I was like, I see Taurus as like just rained for several days, and now everything is lush and green, but like the topsoil is really soft. Like a bull will walk through it and leave their prints, fresh, tracks in the mud. The femme fatale, abundant seductress rolling in mud, like I just think about like soft earth. And for me, the goddess becomes almost a little sharper. I think of
Ooh.
Gemini as like a sharpness that for me is the sharpest of the air signs. So I think of like the goddess as like, sharpening up and tightening up, like using maybe the softest clay to mold it into a pot or a container, and like being able to create that sort of air transition there, because you need air
Ooh.
to dry out the clay and to fire it and all that.
That is
That's
so interesting.
my
Different.
interpretation.
I know, right? Yeah. I definitely feel Taurus as like, well, sometimes I guess I could say stuck in the mud.
Stubborn sometimes, yeah,
Yeah.
yes, and that's why like the earth isn't hard. It's the reaction to the earth that
Mm-hmm.
is a little hard. Yeah,
Right.
caked on a little bit, stubborn. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah.
If it's quicksand, don't struggle too much. You'll get more stuck. Taurus. You're welcome. Okay. We're already prefacing. So, Gemini, let's do you. Let's do you. Gemini, Decan 1. This here, another dragon. It's the duality dragon slayer. So, yeah, Gemini is super sharp. Like when we think of air, you might think of the swords, suits, and tarot. Yes, double edged sword of Gemini here. And what they're really slaying is duality, because we know Gemini is dark and light, the twins, mortal, immortal. But in that kind of really special twin magic, there's like also the shared something that we can't quite put our finger on because it's just airy. But there is something between the twins here that is a separate third thing. This is Gemini 1.
Right. Yeah, I think of Gemini as like beginning to uh tap into consciousness and like a shared consciousness. Because I always see like the watery resolution as like sort of the expression of emotion through like that consciousness connection. And for the for the first decan in Gemini, I've got the warrior. And a warrior is going to have to live in multiple states of consciousness, and sometimes even only goes to war for a holy sort of quest. But a warrior is maybe less of a knight, a knight in shining armor who's like protecting for a cause. And a warrior is more so going to be grounded in strategy, grounded in their their learning capacity, so that they can really like become the best. It's similar to an athlete in that
Mm-hmm.
they're like refining and refining their way of doing things. So Decan 1 Geminis might feel like they never quite have a grasp on things or are never quite getting things right because they're always like working with that sort of in between state, or like the not good enoughness. I think that might be a layer that they have to work with. But as a warrior, yeah, you're going to be tapped into like the best strategy for defeating your enemies, and also getting to a place where you can also live your life outside of war. What does that look
Yeah.
like? How do you bring that that liveliness of mind that you have for, you know, the strategy in battle? How do you bring that to your just everyday life? How do you come back from war and be normal?
Right. This reminds me of like the way of the humble warrior or some principles of martial arts where it's like, don't waste your energy and don't be the attacker. Like, we're always just on the evade flow. Like, how do I actually use my energy in the smartest way possible? And Gemini is like real brainy and embodied. I love warrior for them. And it gives that newness feeling too, because there's a childlike quality here as well in Gemini that's like, I'm not a lieutenant, I'm a warrior. Like,
Just coming and fighting.
yeah,
Just coming and fighting, and sometimes fighting for a cause or fighting for your highest values, or sometimes just fighting because it feels good to fight, because I like conflict. I think Geminis are the most conflict collaborative. They really truly enjoy getting to the meat of the problem and cutting right in.
yeah. With Mars and Gemini, both of us, I'm like, yeah, yeah, that's there. In the planet of fighting, the sign that likes to fight for fun. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
something. It's something for Gemini to embrace too, to realize that like sometimes I like to stir it up and tussle, because you can just redirect that in a way where it comes out not as any kind of subconscious kink, but as a, I like debate. I like debate team. I like doing jujitsu, like whatever, just channel that shit.
Hmm. Hmm. And you wrote down a person from the media for this one as well.
Yeah. Okay, this is Aang, but like before he's Avatar Aang. Okay? It's like baby airbender who just like really wants to do stuff, and sometimes he's stuck baking cakes and having to deal with like the duality of living life in a human body while also having access to incredible power and magic.
Yeah, really, really excelling at the mastery of your own personal element, and wondering, why can't I go faster? Why can't we just take it to the next level? And it's like, well, you have to feed yourself sometimes, and you have to take care of other things sometimes. And hey, you might need to practice your skill a little bit more before you're ready for that next level. Yeah, I think there's a little bit of a Aang the last Airbender is a very good touch point for this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, his like nonviolent stance really slaps for this part of Gemini as a warrior. Okay. So let's move into two, because you just like perfectly teased it with saying strategy. And
Wait,
oh,
I want to say something about conflict
yes.
too, because Aang is very nonviolent, like you just said, and we've been talking about like how we need to disrupt our own duality. And while he is nonviolent, he is also friends with conflict. He is not an enemy to conflict. He's not afraid of conflict. everything that you see, hey, what's happening here? Just the engagement with how do we solve this is, just because he's nonviolent does not mean that he's afraid of conflict. I think everybody
Yeah, yeah.
gets, the wrong idea about it. And I was like, we just talked about Mars and the sort of fighting energy of conflict. I want to make sure we talk about conflict also being nonviolent and something that you can master without that sort of aggressive fighting quality that we often associate with it. Okay, now we can.
Yes.
Now that I got that
Yeah.
out, we can move on.
Which I see the mastery of finesse trickling in to this area of Gemini from Taurus too, where like, okay, conflict is happening, but how can I approach this in a way that truly does not escalate? You know. Thank you. We needed to hear that in these days. These dark days. Okay.
Mm.
Gemini Decan too. We love this. I call this one the speedy strategist because this is where Gemini has just plugged their fucking noggin and their whole being into source. And they're like, I see everything. Almost like, when they plug in Neo and he learns Kung Fu. Like, this is how Gemini Deacon 2 is receiving downloads. And they've mastered that warrior, the young warrior energy. And now they're like, okay, here's what I need to do. It's like so fucking intense. The most Gemini of the Geminis. Gemini Deacon 2.
Yeah, the warrior is a little like the messy strategist, and the Deacon 2 for Gemini is the sort of concise, more pulled together strategist who is the engineer archetype. Now, I've got the engineer archetype here, which makes perfect sense for speedy strategist, but also I've got the gambler, because a gambler is going to have to assess risks as well and is maybe even counting cards, which is, I think, a quality that Gemini brings to the table. Somebody who's just so sharp and is really on it. And like nothing gets past them, essentially. But it's because they're tapping into consciousness at such a high level and they have such great capacity for it that they're able to see things in a different way. Like you can look at one thing and see the blueprints in your mind immediately.
Yeah.
So yeah, Gemini Deacon 2 people have that like risk reward strategizer who is really paying attention to the floor plan for literally everything, like 3D models in their head type shit.
Yeah, exactly. And they do not like to be slowed down. And because they have this really tapped in source vision, Gemini Deacon 2 sometimes I'm going to say is going to be the engineer that creates things that maybe the world isn't ready for yet. Like a car that runs on water and they get it patented and, thrown in a silo for all of time because the people that don't want that to happen don't want it to happen. So there is definitely
Yeah.
some tempering with the speed at which this Gemini strategizes that needs to happen to be of the most influence. And that's like what they learn on the journey from Deacon 2 to Deacon 3.
Yeah, which is interesting because I'm thinking about how Taurus, the sign just before, is like, I'm learning about the world and how it works. And then Gemini's coming in and is like, I know about the world. And now I'm going to fix it. I'm going to, I'm going to, maybe not literally, I'm going to fix it, but I'm going to find the best way to use all the materials at my power. And also, I'm getting downloads so quickly that I'm getting frustrated by how these materials of the earth I need in order to build the things, but they are the tempering. Their existence and slowness is a part of the tempering.
Yes, exactly. Uh, have you seen the Eternals? Marvel?
No.
No.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, that's an Avengers, but like with a bunch of famous people, right?
Yeah,
So
Angelina
many.
Jolie. But
Yes.
I'm thinking of,
Selma Hayek,
yeah,
I think. Yeah.
yes.
Okay, I got it.
I'm thinking of the character Festus, who is played by Brian Tyree Henry, and he's like an engineer who came to give like celestial knowledge to the humans on Earth. And he's like, "Look, I created the steam engine." And they're like, "The people aren't ready for that. You just gave them a wheel like a month ago. Like, you got to back off. They're going to think that's witchcraft." Like, that's kind of the frustration of Gemini too. That's like, I have this amazing idea and I'm going to put it all into motion. But like,
Yeah.
sometimes the world ain't ready.
Sometimes you know too much,
Yeah,
and you just got
exactly.
to write down the plans, teach them to other people, pass them off, you know? Yeah.
Take,
Well, we'll
take,
get there. We're
take
getting
it.
to the teacher qualities.
Exactly. Take a beat, take a breath. Okay, so when we move to Gemini Decan 3, teacher qualities, yes, it's also like big projection qualities. This is the multifaceted media mogul. This is like the Gemini that is like, click, I understand everything. And like, here's how I'm going to use my influence. And you bet they are bringing their duality slaying and their strategy to this third decan. And you really get to see the fruit of Gemini's like creative mix and match, mash things together that shouldn't belong, just mastermind happening in Gemini Decan 3. Super fun energy.
Yeah, the multifaceted media mogul in archetype speak would be the visionary dilettante. A visionary is going to be able to zoom out and see the big picture from the biggest of picture quality that you could possibly get. You know, we're talking about Gemini being so tapped into consciousness that they can see everything. And then there's also the dilettante, who is a jack of all trades and typically a master of none. So a dilettante is typically the kind of person who is going to pick something up, learn it a little bit, move on to the next one, and knows a little bit about everything and knows how to do everything just a little bit. And Emily's making faces because I know that she's had the Gemini issues that I've had as a spiritpreneur, which is like I have to pick up a little bit of everything and become kind of masterful, but kind of not. The Gemini 3, Decan 3, is going to attempt, if not actually succeed, at mastery in their
Mm-hmm.
lifetime. This is not the wasteful dilettante or the sort of like lazy dilettante. This is the visionary dilettante who's like, I need to be able to have a really like high level of execution in a lot of these little areas for my vision to, you know, come online. And that might also be a reaction or a response to Decan 2, which is, I know everything and I can't apply it. And Decan 3 goes, I know everything and I'm learning how to apply it myself because I can't always rely on other people to see the vision the way that I do.
Bro, yes. Yes. This is a Gemini that has stopped slutting it out with their creativity for real. And they're like, oh, okay, this is what I want to create. And a really awesome example of someone who has this MC, so they're famous for Gemini 3 energy, is Freddie Mercury, who like really was
Oh.
such a visionary, and he was not just a singer, right? Like he was a rock star. He was famous in the queer scene. He was like rocking cross dressing before it was anything close to mainstream. He was out there really paving the way for so many people and creating visuals and fashions and just so much iconic energy with his persona. Like, multifaceted media mogul. Queen is a household name.
Yeah, I mean, you don't get there from not having vision. And I
Right.
think Freddie Mercury at the center of Queen envisioned a band that through music could create liminal pockets for people to dance and play in, where there's total freedom and acceptance of
Mm-hmm.
themselves. And so, like, that's the vision that Freddie Mercury brought, but it was ahead of its time. So he had to do it himself. He had to
Right.
just go and be the one.
Yeah. He said, I'm going to go stay on a farm for a month and make a rock opera. And everyone said, what? And now, like, we all know the words to Bohemian Rhapsody. That's the energy we have in Gemini 3. It's huge. It's huge.
Huge.
I love that you mentioned the dilettante as well. And I just want to touch on that before we move on, because that's sort of the shadow of Gemini, is like, or of Gemini 3 especially, but all of the Geminis. You want to dabble. We get easily distracted. Boredom is the worst thing in the world, and it must be curbed by filling your brain with information and entertainment at all times. Like, that's the trap, okay? So, what Gemini really gets to learn in this progression is like how to tune in with source, pouring into them. Like, that's their source of entertainment, is their connection.
Mm.
So cute.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. All right, Cancer. Cancer. It's your turn. Cancer, Decan 1. I have underdog activism. So these are like seriously the guard dogs of the oppressed. And Cancer energy, I know, like Cancer and Pisces, everyone's like crybabies. I'm like, ugh, people that feel everything. So Cancer 1 is really like feeling, oh my God, my empathy is off the charts for this people group, for this, you know, animal rights campaign, whatever the charge is. And they're going to stand up for them no matter what. And that's going to be a life calling. Like, these are really the people we see that devote themselves to a cause. And you can see that warrior energy of Gemini just dripping in to Cancer 1 here. It's like, you can't talk to my friend like that, you know?
Yeah, and there's sort of also this quality of like, I know too much, or I've seen enough
I've seen enough.
to I've seen enough, and I know and I understand that somebody's got to do something. So the archetype for Decan 1 for Cancer is the Avenger, the one who's like, I'm not just going to sit around and watch things happen anymore. I'm going to make sure that, while being an Avenger also implies that there is some kind of vengeance, as in, like, there needs to be something bad to happen in order for an Avenger to act. I think this more for me plays into that Cancer water quality of like, I've seen enough and I feel everything about it. And you don't have to hurt me or hurt somebody for me to take action and know that I have seen enough. I don't need a third red flag. The
Right.
first or second red flag will do. Okay. Noticing the patterns, taking action immediately. And for that reason too, the Avenger might become the sort of, vigilante in their own minds who acts on behalf of others without actually framing what happened for the person that they are trying to avenge. So might act before asking, and might also as an avenger or a liberator or anybody who we frame as somebody who is helping other people or helping the many. There is also this quality of when you rescue somebody, you take away, you disempower them maybe a little bit because you're taking
Yeah.
away their own quality for their own capacity for showing up for themselves. So yeah, there's a little bit of that there that we can't, we can't go move on without saying there are some shadow qualities and light qualities to this archetype, which we have some very distinct associations with. I mean, the Avengers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
you
Right.
know?
And I'm thinking about like V for Vendetta, and maybe even, this is not quite on the money, but like that Tyler Durden energy of Fight Club that's like, we got to disturb this system because it's all wrong.
Yeah, I've seen enough, and some disruption is necessary because I feel too deeply about
Yeah.
this. I feel too much, and it needs to be released and relieved from my system. And I think that's another so the porosity of Cancer is
Mm-hmm.
that like I can't hold this in, and I refuse to. And in fact, I'm gonna leak. I'm gonna be leaky all over the place and all over everybody if I can't just go and relieve myself from the pressure of feeling all of this, feeling all
Dude,
of the everything.
perfectly said.
Unmastered empathizer.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. And that's why when we get to Cancer Decan 2, it shifts a little because now this Cancer has understood empathy as a tool that can be like turned up or down. Like the valve doesn't always need to be open and leaking. And we don't need to be emotionally manipulating people around us with our own feelings. But we see, I know, I'm calling this one the bridge between worlds because Cancer Deacon 2 is like, I've been to heaven, I've been to hell, I'll go back again. And I understand the feelings. I felt the feelings that belong in both of these realms, and nothing scares me. So I'll be the bridge.
And that is, I think you said that Cancer is associated with Persephone. Is that true?
Virgo.
No, it's Virgo
Yeah,
because the
yeah.
Virgo's the maiden. Okay. I was going to say this feels a little bit like that, but yeah, is able to yeah, sort of turn the valve. And that's why the archetype for this one for Deacon 2 for Cancer is the guide slash teacher. And
Yeah.
we're going to encounter a guide later on. So I'm going to lean into the teacher archetype here because I think what a teacher is going to do is not just come from the perspective of wisdom, but is going to try to find structured ways to pass along information to others and sort of like detach a little bit from the emotion so that the teaching can happen. Sometimes in like guiding or mentoring other people, we get caught up in our own stories and we get caught up in our own um, big feelings, and we
Yeah.
sort of miss the point in terms of like helping other people through their own shit and to master their own emotions. But the teacher is going to be like, I'm going to put my feelings to the side for a second, and I'm going to be present with yours so that we can do the thing and we can help you handle. And of course, The light side of that is that teachers are going to be able to find multiple ways to help people connect with their own big emotions and big feelings. Um, but then, a teacher might also leave their feelings on a shelf for too long and experience compassion fatigue, where they're trying to help others. It might be even like a therapist archetype,
Yes.
somebody who is always giving advice to other people and not either taking their own advice or using their own like emotional intelligence to process their own big feelings. They've been processing other people's big feelings for a long time and they just forget to process their own. So I think that's a Decan 2 kind of tweak there to pay attention to and watch out for.
Yeah, really well said. There, I was going to share too that I saw a recent research study about therapists and their astrology, and guess who the number one sun sign was for therapists?
Shut
Cancer.
up.
Yeah.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, which is really wild. I think this was just like an Instagram research study. I don't know how scientific method it was, but kind of cool, kind of interesting. I'm literally dating a Cancer who was a licensed therapist for 15 years, so yeah.
Really super duper interesting. And as I was going through this, I was like, I don't necessarily have an archetype uh, from Caroline Myss that really anchors this. I had guide and teacher, but as I
Mm-hmm.
was sitting here and therapist came to mind, I was like, oh, nailed it. I'm gonna erase teacher even because
Do
like
it.
teacher is good, but therapist is better.
Yeah.
Like yeah, because that just tells you that we're working with emotions, that we're
Right.
teaching on emotions.
Exactly, because we're in a water realm now. And what Cancer learns in Deacon 2 is boundaries. Like every good therapist has boundaries, right? And when we get to 3, I see the artist get activated. So the third decan of Cancer is what I'm calling the emotive linguist, because this person is tapped in to the feels, the collective consciousness feels. They've learned their boundaries with their empathy, and now they're able to just like channel it out into a creation with some of that like Leo fire that we're starting to rub up against. So beautiful. Poets, storytellers, singers, like all that energy is here in Cancer 3.
We've got the archetype of the poet for this one, our emotive linguist. I mean, how could you nail it even more, succinctly than that? I've also got the storyteller archetype. I think it's pertinent to bring in the difference between a poet and a storyteller because they are both expressive and they are both artists in their own way. But a poet is going to say things in only the most beautiful, in only the most beautiful words that they can find, beautiful and painful, expressive words that they can find. And a storyteller is going to uh, kind of nail down a little bit more of the facts
Mm-hmm.
and want to kind of touch on the morals of the story. So, again, with the sort of like, I have big feelings. I'm learning how to control my big feelings. I'm learning what these big feelings tell me and what they teach me. Is sort of like the evolution for Cancer here through the Decans.
Yeah, exactly. And now they're able to translate it into like even more deeply encoded wisdom and art as a teacher, right? Like that next level of teacher turns into artist, and the poet and the storyteller. So if you have this placement in your chart, and you don't write, are you okay?
Are you okay? Are you okay. I have a friend who I thought of just now where I was like, I don't know what her decan is, but she's a Virgo with a Cancer moon, I believe. And I'm just like, oh, she's a writer. She's in the poetry group that just started our 5 week journey together. So I'm like, okay, I know which Cancer she is just
Cool.
from my heart. And this is like an example of like, oh, I know who that is that you can tap into with the people in your life.
Yes. Beautiful. All right, Cancer, you're roasted. We love you.
Yeah.
Not really roasted. But Leo, I know you've been waiting for this all day. Just kidding. Eh. Your first.
You've been waiting for us to get to you forever. It took too long. How dare.
It's your turn now, and you're going to hate this first decan. Maybe. I don't know. But the first decan of Leo is getting in touch with our family pride. Okay. This could be ancestral. It could be like the lands that you're from, or just like really representing the country that your ancestors come from. Like, there's a ton of family pride. And the shadow of the family pride to me is family obligation and duty, and like kind of being a slave to your family system, especially if it's unhealthy. That's what happens if we didn't really learn the Cancer stuff before we got to Leo.
Right. Yeah. If you didn't quite get all of that, like compassion and empathy mixed in with your family pride, then yeah, you might turn out to be a certain kind of father. This is the archetype that I picked for this one because associated with, I mean, we've got parents, but associated with the mother, there's more of like the connection to nurturing that we have, whereas the father is more connected with legacy. And so I even just went and put in sitcom dad because as we were, looking at this, I was thinking of the Proud Family and how invested the dad in that show was in the success of his children and the failure of his children, like really trying to make them proud of themselves and always being the first number one fan. But is a goober and doesn't get it right all the time. So it's not just like the dad from the Proud Family, but all sitcom dads.
Yes.
Where they've got that like I'm so proud of you, sweetheart, kind of energy toward them, but needs to have their own personal journey for what they are proud of within themselves and what their own legacy is going to be outside of making other people and like maybe even manipulating other people to do things that you would be proud of in lieu of just being the one to do it yourself. If you want to be the MVP of a baseball team, then join a baseball team. I don't care if you're in your 50s or your 60s, dad. Go and
Yeah.
make yourself proud. This is the sort of energy of that first decan there is like, what do I stand for? And how can I tap more into making myself feel like my legacy is solid.
Yeah. Yeah, there could be an energy here too of healing intergenerational trauma. Like the person in the family line to look back and say like, "Oh, I don't have family pride for what I've come from. Let me work this out now and continue my legacy." Yeah. That this one's to
And this is
my colonizers.
what is your legacy though, white folks?
Yeah.
I just tuned into how this is also being the first sign in the next sort of evolution through the signs. This is like big teenager energy, you know, which maybe is
Oh,
why I felt
yeah.
the proud family, because they're all not, maybe not all of the kids in that family are teenagers, but they're all like, we're following the teens and preteens in that setting. And it's like, yeah, there is going to be um, some new information that they're bringing in from Cancer about how to handle their own emotions. But also, then they're thinking about their reputation suddenly and what other people
Yeah.
think about you and other people's impressions of you. And that can start to become very important for a Decan one as time goes on, you know, really recognizing that, like, oh, other people see me.
Right.
Oh, I'm being
Yeah.
seen by other people.
The Leo performance versus sovereignty conundrum that we'll see in all of the Decans, really. Huh. So after we learn this family pride, we're in Decan 2, and this is where there is like a reconnection to your blood, reconnection to your ancestry has already been like clicked in, and you're sensing like the deep wisdom from all of those pathways that's coming from inside of your blood, that comes through your intergenerational understanding. So the primal passion is like really earthy fire to me, like almost bubbling lava inside a volcano, like an inner heat that comes through with a really strong sense of duty to stay wild and free. Women who run with wolves kind of magic here.
Yeah, the archetype for Leo Deacon 2 that I selected is the hedonist. I really, when you put primal passion, the coding for me gave me this vision of like people dancing and running and fucking naked around a huge bonfire. I mean, it's the Dothrakis, you know,
Yes.
it's that primal passion that you see where it's like, um, I'm not going to temper myself. And maybe I have a really fiery temper about things because I just do, because I just feel everything so strongly and so aggressively and assertively. And this is the part of um, teenagerhood where you're like, I don't know how to express myself when I'm learning that I have to have responsibilities. Like, you're putting this wide spread monkey, you know, sort of creation, which is my foot, into a tight fitted, laced up shoe with a leather sole, and I'm feeling trapped inside of something. And I would love to be able to just be free and wild. And that's why teens seem to be rebellious when in actuality they want as much of what they want as they want when they want it until they don't want it anymore. The hedonist is the archetype of excess and having anything and everything that you want and not saying no to anything that you do want. Just really letting yourself juices dripping around down your chin and your chest and your hands. Just eat the entirety of the flesh of everything, that every fruit that smells enticing to you. And yeah,
Yes.
not saying no when you want it. So a teen or somebody in their youth who is experiencing that like wantingness and that desire. I mean, talk about like the first time that you feel sexual feelings about somebody or about something. Girl, when I was younger, in my teens and preteens, I was masturbating all the time. I
Right.
just couldn't stop masturbating because I was like, I don't know where to put all this energy. I want what I want when I want it.
Yeah. Right? That's
What else is there
perfect.
to do?
It really is like the one that eats with the big spoon and the one that is at the feast and is taking advantage of everything, sampling everything. And what Leo learns in Deacon 2, because we're now in our fire sign lessons, stage 2, right, from Aries, is that, oh, it is all about me on some level. And there are interpersonal things happening here. And I can see that when I eat the whole banquet feast and don't save any for other people, they're pissed at me. Huh. That's like what
Yeah.
Leo is learning in this phase, like especially in the context of family and community and being with other people.
You're learning excess in your own personal way, like eating until you're stuffed, gorging, and binging might be sort of an attunement to this deacon right here. But you're also, yeah, you're learning what it means when excess goes too far and it damages your relationships or your reputation. We were just talking about reputation as
Right.
well. People might start to uh, think that you're a fucking drug addict because you smoke as much weed as you want whenever you want it. And yet, you have to be the one who is the arbiter of your own excess. So good luck with that, Deacon 2
I know.
Leos. I think I don't know what my deacon is for Leo, but right now I'm going, I think that might be me.
Well, I love it.
Oh.
There's shadow and light. I love a bitch with a big spoon. It's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in Deacon 3, we're now stepping into our like queenly, kingly, royal sovereignty, and I'm calling this the royal right. And it's when you realize, Leo 3, that you are the master of your life. It's sort of like learning existentialism for the first time. Like, oh, I am my own superhero. I can just bend this reality to my will and make it what I want it to be. Okay. Like huge creative explosion of energy in Leo 3. Super cute. I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. It can be for sure.
right.
Um,
Cute maybe isn't the word, but like it's a lot of energy. How about that?
it's a lot. Yeah. And the opposite here is it can be a lot in the wrong direction.
Right.
So I've got the prince archetype for this deacon because yeah, the prince might just rule one day, like is slated to rule and become the next ruler, but and might take that on as a positive thing, as like a really grounding responsibility, a point of legacy, a point of creating abundance for other people, taking care of other people, and also might go in the wrong direction. The excess might be learning that you can be excessively violent and get away with it, or excessively, abundant or seductive and get away with it. That sort of like legacy and hedonistic reputation might come into that prince archetype for Deacon 3 here. In I think it's powerful either in one direction or the other. This feels like there's not a whole lot of in between. Like it's either you're taking your responsibility seriously or you're taking your responsibility seriously in that direction. Really?
That's
Oh
what you want to
shit.
do?
Dang.
Yeah, I'm thinking about Joffrey, Prince Joffrey, King Joffrey, who is like the most hated character forever in Game of Thrones. And you see the shadow in his portrayal of this character, like, just thinks that because he's the king, he can really do any fucking thing that he wants without realizing he has an undeveloped child brain and is a total sicko.
It is a total fucking sicko. And I think it's I think the prince archetype has a lot of pressure on them
Mm,
to be great and to be something one day. You know, so there is that sort of uh like underdeveloped sense of responsibility that, yeah, can really hinder a person's development at a point in their life where they need to be able to feel like they can be free and expressive, but also like attentive to how that the ripple effects that's going to cause if they are as free and expressive as they want to be. So
yeah.
yeah, real interesting stuff here with the prince here. And when you put Joffrey, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Thinks he could do anything and get away, literally get away with murder.
Right. Playing with your power. And, for a positive example, too, we could look at somebody like Beyonce, who has not just played with her power, played with her ancestral creativity, played with her roots. Like, I'm thinking of her country album, which was fucking groundbreaking. She shows up as a queen and she shows up to benefit all beings. So, you can. You can choose your path here.
She from a young age, yeah, because if I think of Prince, I still think of like it isn't ruling yet, but is, you know, expected to. And yeah, I think from a young age, like she was aware of her power and
Yeah.
really learned to use and wield her power in very specific ways.
There we go, Leo. Those are your deacons. And notice how right there at the end of Leo, we kind of started talking about the arts. No coincidence, because we're moving into Virgo, which is so for Virgo Decan 1, I have the committed craftsman because this is the Virgo who has like settled their energy down enough to pick a thing to get good at. And now they're like in their perfecting it era. They're really like tinkering and playing with materials to create something that's of service, but they're working on it. They're working out the kinks in Virgo Decan 1.
Yeah, and that gave me so in the Caroline Myss archetypes, we have the artist, which is sort of the closest match for that.
Mm-hmm.
But we are not limited, as in, you know, as you saw with the therapist, we're not limited to those archetypes. We can expand into anything that feels more tailored to the thing, which is why I picked Taylor as well, because I think for Virgo there's that artistry that we can get from anybody who picks a craft, like you said, and just, you know, kind of tunnel visions it and just becomes that thing, becomes that art form. And also, I think Virgo has a little bit more of a structured, organized quality than we normally associate with an artist. You know, an artist, we might think of a studio that's a mess and things are everywhere and paintings are half finished in different places and stuff like that. So, as a seamstress or a tailor, I think of something that's a little bit more structured and that gives a little bit more structure to this archetype. But that doesn't mean that a tailor or any craftsperson can't be messy and have half-baked projects all over the place. In fact, all crafts people do, because the process of artistry means that there are going to be things um, that are in different levels of finished and unfinished. And I think Decan 1 Virgos uh, handle that prospect a lot of like what's finished, what's unfinished, and might always have their eye, might be like zeroed in on their thing, but always have an eye aimed toward like, what are the things that like just mean more to me that really need to get out into the world. Like if I'm an artist, then I mean I have something to say. That means that I have something to to give to the world. And if I am in service to the world, what does the world need from me first, most, best?
Yeah, exactly. And they're so not afraid to put in the work to make sure that it becomes the best thing that it can be. And I'm just remembering the tarot card that's translated to Decan 1 of Virgo, and it's the Eight of Pentacles, where we see someone at their workbench, like making a pentacle, and then there's a post with all the other pentacles that they've made. They're just like stacking their
Yes.
practice.
Filling orders for the devil.
Yeah, in the mood.
In mood tarot, yeah.
It's so funny. So after Virgo goes through this kind of lesson of like working it, they have Virgo Decan 2, which is stepping into the power of perfection. So understanding like, okay, I have perfected the thing, and now I am going to step into like all of the worthiness. I'm going to step into maybe even the monetary benefits that can come from me having perfected this. I'm ready to receive and harvest. I'm getting grain here. Like, think about when Virgo falls, right? It's the Virgoist Virgo.
Yeah, the perfection of timing for
Mm,
somebody like a farmer is a very powerful archetype to connect with powerful perfection here with this second decan for Virgo. From the archetypes that I picked, I've got the divine child here, as well as the Messiah. I thought it was interesting to bring these two together because the divine child, as y'all have been hearing, there are several different types of child archetypes. And the divine child is the one who keeps their sort of like youthful, innocent view of the world in the same way that an eternal child or a nature child does. There's that sort of like youthful innocence that underlies all of these child archetypes. But the divine child is going to have that sort of like innocence and perspective on the world from the place of everything is God. Everything that exists is God, and so it is all perfect. Everything is exactly as it should be. And that sort of quality of seeing everything as perfect gives you um, gives you that sense of appreciation and gratitude for everything. And I think that's a really powerful way to assess perfection, because perfection can be so tight assholed that you want things to come out right all the time, or you want things to come out perfectly the first time. If we translate that artist Taylor into its second evolution here,
mm-hmm.
but if we connect with the Messiah archetype, we can also recognize that somebody who is the mouthpiece for God and mouthpiece for that divine perfection, they're not going to get it right all the time. And
Right.
while other people, may trust the Messiah because they have claimed that they are a Messiah and they've claimed that everything coming from their mouth is from God, um, they have to sort of wrestle with what that means to trust yourself and to also connect with the divine in service to everyone and to all, and not for the benefit of your own divinity and your own godliness. Because if you believe that everybody is God and everything is God, then you believe that you are God as well. So there's that play with like powerful protection in service to being of service.
Yeah. Yes, I see that. And like this Virgo in Decan 2, just like a Messiah knows, has also learned when it's finished, when the work is done. They're able to say, like, okay, this is perfected and finished, and now I can move on. Like, in the words of Jesus. you know,
Yeah, in the words of Jesus, it's time for me to move on.
I'm done. We're done here. I know. Blasphemy. Yes, definitely. It's so wild. I'm just going to mention this and we won't go too deep into it, but I'm seeing how we have polarity reflections in all of these signs. Like, as we're talking about Taurus learning how to use their seduction powers for good, I'm like, oh my God, that's like the Scorpio lesson. Also, the opposite of Taurus. And as we're talking about Virgo, stepping into craftsman perfection, then we're seeing, oh, Virgo realizes we're all God. And that's like what Pisces knows. So you kind of can start to see how those opposite signs meet in the middle when they're really like working what they got. But not for nothing. Virgo Decan 3. This is all we're going to do for today. So, last Decan of the day, I have the Quicksilver Oracle. So Virgo Decan 3 is running on super powered Quicksilver Mercury brain. Like, they're channeling really quickly and they can see beyond the material. This Virgo Decan 3 is starting to like open up the mind away from just like being at their workbench, and they're remembering that, oh, because I'm God, I'm channeling God. Ah. So maybe they're not working quite as furiously at this point, and if they are, it's on channeling.
Right. Yeah, I think Deacon 1, the artist, is sort of channeling God without thinking too much about it.
Yeah.
Deacon 2 is channeling God and thinking a lot about it, and sometimes forgetting that they are God, or forgetting that they are, a mouthpiece for God, and slipping up. And the third deacon, the gossip archetype, is thinking about how to play God and doing it in service to the greater good or in service to self. When you're in your highest, in your lightest aspect for the gossip, you are doing it for the greater good. And gossips get a lot of bad rap, and women get a lot of shit for gossiping, which is why women have stopped talking and communicating with each other about, or it's been, the attempts have been made to try to suppress this practice, which is to gossip not for the sake of hurting other people, but for protecting other people. If we don't have gossips in our town, then we don't know that so and so told so and so who told me that they heard the dad next door beating their kids. And it's crazy and wild, and this is insane gossip because he's the sheriff of the town. So what does that mean about how somebody in our community acts and behaves when it comes to how we experience that sort of like what is good for everybody? And a gossip is going to use their information to service all, and even to manipulate for the greater good, to make sure that if we use manipulation as it means, which is just to mold and to shape, um, a gossip is going to mold and shape the way that people think about things. Okay, the picture they have in their mind. Talk about an artist. You're taking
Right.
somebody else's painting of a situation and you are altering their painting in their minds without even having to go in there or having to create something physical. You're just doing it with your words, with your thoughts. That's crazy. So the gossip, while we've got negative associations, the gossip is incredibly powerful and can use that quickness and that cleverness to employ the information that they have at their disposal for better or for worse, for good or for evil.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God. I love talking about gossip like this because, yes, it is totally just patriarchal shenaniganry to tell us that gossiping is bad and that, feminine gossips are especially the worst. Like, that's special.
Accountability from women is bad. Ew, ow, I don't like it.
Exactly. That's the word, accountability. That's what this Virgo 3 has. And that's what a positive gossip can do. And like, what is an oracle other than a gossip from source who's like, actually, you need to be held accountable.
Yeah,
Um,
that's literally what I thought when I was narrowing it down. I had like maybe another archetype or two that I was like gossip, and when I was narrowing it down, I was like, an oracle is a gossip, bitch.
yeah. Yeah. God told me in a dream that you're cheating on me. So, yeah, that's
Told
it.
my mom, who told me, yeah, dead.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
That's our magic of Virgo 3. And that concludes all of the archetypes we're going to do for you in this episode because we're splitting up. We're splitting it up because there's a lot to cover. And we want to make sure everyone gets like a nice full picture of their decans.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken us 2 hours to get through six. I I can't imagine how long it would have been if we had had a full length for this entire list.
We'll be here
Now
for
we get to just
days.
Yeah, now we get to just expand into them and give y'all all of our thoughts and all of our uh media references as we come up with them. And Dothraki and Joffrey were, very good.
So good. All right, y'all. So Kellyanne, what you got coming up in your world?
Right now, I'm taking a pause on all things. I'm moving, so even Free Reading Friday has been feeling like a heavy lift for me. So I'm just taking a little time off. But when you listen to this in the future times, I'm going to have a lot coming up through my Patreon. So you can essentially subscribe to events like new moon manifestation rituals that I'm gonna start getting into again, meditation and journaling practices like the wandering, which I'm also excited to start hosting again. There are going to be a lot of events and even more teachables in that portal. So if you want to check me out on Patreon, the vibrant resource library and community is there for you.
Yay. A beautiful leading by example moment of taking time and space for yourself while also holding the sanctity of your containers. Thank you. We can do both, okay,
We
everyone?
could do
We
it
can do
all.
both.
Yeah.
We really can.
And we
Yay.
got to
Yeah. Yeah, we do.
for our own health.
Yeah. True.
Yeah.
Burning out doesn't help anybody. Mm.
No. What you got going on?
What do I have going on? So I'll be moving, but not this month. So you first, and then I'll go. Um, but in my community, what is new and fresh is that I've started doing seasonal rituals again, like I used to do when I was teaching yoga and stuff. So now I'm just doing them virtually. Loving that. And I've teamed up with my sister Julie at Seek the Mountains, and we're doing Witches Lent for all of October, which is a sobriety challenge. And it can be any kind of sobriety that you want. Like maybe you're already Portland sober and you want to give up sugar. Cool, whatever. You're welcome. It's it does not mean you need to turn into a monk or nun for the month. It's just whatever you want to experiment with abstaining from. She's created this beautiful email drip campaign, and you get little prompts every day. She's a Virgo, so it's really well done. And then my community is opened up to the public, and I'm inviting people in to be on a support thread with me, and we'll be holding 3 quick support calls, like 30 to 40 minutes, you know? So that's happening for all of October. I will be giving up sugar and TV and maybe one more thing, but we'll see. We'll see what I'm tuning into the day of, because that's how I do things.
You don't know
Yeah,
until you know.
right, exactly. And then I know, and it's
And then you
clear.
really know.
Yeah. And my last thing I have going on is that I'm still in partnership with the Metaboss Collective. And right now we're doing a super fun posting over Pick Me challenge that has been making me feel like Instagram, how it used to feel when we would like take pictures of our food and like aesthetic moments. And like, that was it. Which has been really nice to just like return to the simplicity, but do it with astrology and some of the astrological branding that Nicolette Netney at Metaboss Collective has come up with. So you can join that challenge anytime, but anyone who joins and completes the challenge can sign up for a full rebrand package with us. I'll be co-hosting Instagram for Intuitives on November 7th. So if you're interested in doing the full Astro Intuitive rebrand sales funnel, start with the posting Pick Me challenge and meet me there. That's it. That's all I have going on. That's all.
Cute, sexy, hot, amazing,
Yeah.
revelatory.
Cool. We hope that you love this journey through the Decans. And if you have questions, or if you feel like we got you way wrong, or we did not stay with our shadow and light balancing act as well as we promised we would, call us out in the comments. We love conflict.
We love conflict. Please, call us in to whatever conversation you want to confront us about, and we'll lovingly meet you there with so much compassion and appreciation. And thank you. We've got a part 2 coming. So if you're missing all of those other signs, we've got so many more for you. What is 36 divided by 2? To 18.
Something 8. Yeah. 18.
We just did 18. We've got another 18 to go in the next one.
It's a marathon. All right.
We got this.
Thanks, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Love y'all.